Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, dona nobis pacem.
Today, we're talking about friendship. And if you listen to St. Francis, on the one hand, you really shouldn't have any worldly friends. On the other hand, if you're going to, you got to be very careful on how you choose them. And it was almost a depressing chapter to read, in a way. But then I started thinking, and his idea of friendship, being a close friendship and everything, is kind of like the old Yankees up at like Colebrook and Pittsburgh and stuff. You know, you can be, you're new to the town, and it's still, even down here in Manchester, when we first lived in our house, my dad's been in his house for 55 years now. And until the last neighbor moved away, we had been there probably 30, 35 years or something. And his house was always referred to, where do you live? I live up here in Oakwood. Oh, the Jutras house. We've been there 55 years now. So whenever he passes and we sell a house, whoever lives there, it's going to be the Tremblay house. And that's kind of how Yankees are, right? They're not real quick, the old Yankees. They're not real quick to accept you as a friend. You're an acquaintance, you may be a neighbor, you may not even be bad, but you're not really a friend. And that's really kind of what St. Francis was looking at. How do you develop a friendship, a good friendship? As he says, friendship is the most dangerous of all types of love, for it is based completely on intercommunication, and we can hardly have such communication with a person without sharing in its qualities. So he equates friendship and love, but it's a very special kind of love because it's the kind of love that really takes two people. You've got to have mutually acceptable communications and ideals and whatnot. So requirements for love to become friendship. For love to become friendship. The love must be mutual. It must be mutually known. And it must be fostered by communications. I mean, how often do you have somebody you think is a friend and you think, well, they're not really a good friend? And how often is it just because of communication or lack of communication? And there are different types of friendship. There's the casual, the acquaintance, the good friend, the bad friend. Friendships differ according to the variety of goods exchanged. By goods he means, well, in my case, it's goods I have to pay for friends, otherwise they won't talk to me. But, they're really talking about the communication and the exchange of goodwill and stuff. But the goods, the better the goods are, the better is the friendship. Friendship based on the exchange of carnal pleasure alone has no right to the name of friendship. And he goes very deeply into friendships between the sexes. Friendships proceeding from the senses are termed sensual, vain, and frivolous, and deserve to be called folly rather than friendship. So he's really looking at friendship between two people, and he really, if you read the chapters, really delineates between opposite sexes and the same sex. Although in today's society, who knows? Mayor Pete. I don't want to get into politics. I'm gonna. I don't wanna, but I'm gonna. So, never mind.
Remember you're in church.
I am trying to remember. I'm trying. A playful friendship between persons of different sexes with no intention of marriage, and he spends a lot of time on this. These are only phantoms of friendship and deserve the name neither of friendship nor love by reason of their deep vanity and imperfection. He's talking, and I'm trying to remember back when I was young, he's talking about, when you're dating, things of that nature. Friendship and love meant different things to different people. And what he was saying is, obviously, that if you're just on the troll, you're not making friends and you can't call it love. Not that any of you ever did that when you were younger, I know. I can tell by looking at you that. But that's what he was talking about. So the danger is, again, playful friendships. The danger is by them the hearts of men and women are caught and entangled in empty, foolish affection. They open the way to sin, although many years may pass before anything contrary to bodily chastity may occur. Okay. I kind of liken that to today. How prevalent today do we, and again he talks about marital intentions, how often today do couples get together and just live together, right? You need to see if it's going to work. I mean, who wants to get married and then have to have a divorce? We'll just live together, we'll be friends. We have a deep friendship. Yeah, but do you like her? And I forget where it was, but I saw that once where it was a movie, and I forget, and the guy went to his fiance's father and said, can I have your daughter's hand? I think it may even been Fiddler on the Roof. Can I have your daughter's hand in marriage? And they talked a little bit, and he says, yeah, but do you like her? Oh, I love your daughter. Yeah, I know, but do you like her? Is she your friend? The difference between love and friendship. Friendship born out of love is a much deeper friendship than love alone. It really is. Do you like, how many of you here like your wives? Are you friends with your wife? Right? Sometimes not. You love your wife, you would do anything for your wife, but are you friends with her? When something comes up, is the first thing that comes to your mind, I gotta go. Pam would love this. Or, I don't know. I'll have to check with Pam. I do it out of fear because, but really, is that how is that what your wife is to you? Is she your friend? Do you think, how's this going to affect her? Because do I want to do it? My first thing is, will Pam like it or will she not like it or something? Not that I won't do it, but is that your first thought? Is she your friend? Why people engage in such love? The sinful kind. Some have the sole purpose of satisfying their hearts with loving and being loved. Out of vanity, others get involved, for they esteem it no small glory to capture and bind hearts by love. Really self-gratification, right? They're looking for it, they want to be wanted, they want to be liked, they want to be loved, and that's what they're looking for. Others are led away by their enormous inclinations and by vanity. God has reserved for himself the whole love of our souls in acknowledgement of, these are quotes by St. Francis, by the way, they're not profundities uttered by me. So God has reserved for himself the whole love of our souls in acknowledgement for our creation, preservation, and redemption, and he will demand a most strict account of all the mad deductions we make from it. So God is the ultimate friend, right? And he will judge part of our judgment will be how we make and treat our friends and are treated by our friends. Who do we keep as friends? True friendship. To have true friendship, you should love everyone with a deep love based on charity, but form friendships only with those who can share virtuous things with you. And there's good friends and there's bad friends. So, and this probably never happened, because he says virtuous things with you. Think back when you were kids, was there somebody in the group who was kind of not necessarily the leader, but if you were going to get in trouble, that person was going to be the one at the head of it? Yeah. How many of those were you? How many of you are the guys that were leading the trouble? Greg? The higher the virtues you share in your exchange with others, the more perfect your friendship will be. So think about it. First he's saying friendship is a particular and deep kind of love. And he's going on to say that the goods are the virtues that you share in common. Those are your good friends. Those are your true friends. If your mutual and reciprocal exchanges concern charity and devotion, how precious the friendship will be because it comes from God, leads to God, and its bond will endure eternally in God. Does that mean you can only be friends with Catholics? No, Jesus had dinner with tax collectors and prostitutes. You notice the commonality there, tax collectors, prostitutes? Can you have true friendships, though, with non-Catholics, or at least non-Christians? Is the purpose of that friendship to bring them to God, to bring them to Christ? Will you be able to influence them to share those higher virtues? Or is it just a friendship of convenience, just somebody you know? In that case, I would say it's an acquaintance, not necessarily a friendship. I have a lot of acquaintances at work, even outside of work, but not too many friends. I know you're going to say, it's me, but still. Do your friendships lead to God? Your true friendships? An exception. I refer to friendships you must make for yourselves, for you must not give up friendships that nature or earlier duties oblige you to cultivate with parents, relatives, benefactors, neighbors, and others. Right? You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your relatives. You can't choose your coworkers. So you need to be cordial to them, and it's a type of friendship, but I would really call it, rather than a friendship, I'd call those acquaintances. Not the relatives, but the work, of course. The relatives I reserve another name for. What? Many say that we should not have any particular friendships since it fills our heart, distracts our mind, and causes envy. Right? That's what I say about St. Francis. On the one hand, you've got to be very careful on how you choose your friendships, how you cultivate them, what they lead to. And on the other hand, if you're going to have friends, it's not going to lead you to God. It's going to distract you from God. But there's a difference. For those who live in the world and desire to embrace true virtue, it is necessary to unite in holy, sacred friendship. Again, back to, does the mutual friendship lead to God? By this means, they encourage, assist, and lead one another to perform good deeds. We must go separate ways for those in the world who do not have the same mind and contract friendships according to different purposes. Right? How many of you have friends that you think are just, they're your friends because they need something from you? They're kind of users, right? Mike, you have to get the coffee and donut, but we're not using you. We reimburse you for your mileage, and I like you. You're a good guy. But you got to go separate ways for those who have different purposes. One of the ways, if you have a true friend, do you think, Is a true friend somebody who would do anything for you if you asked them? Is that a true friend? I would say a true friend is somebody that you would do anything for if they asked you. That's a true friend. Now, if it's not reciprocal, there's a problem. It has to be mutual. The communication, the virtues, they have to be mutual. So if you would do anything for them and yet you're in dire straits and they say, yeah, I'm busy, the Patriots are on, which I only did once, that's not a true friend. On the other hand, if it's mutual, it's a true friend. Perfection consists in not in having no friendships, but in having only those which are good, holy, and sacred. Difference between true and vain friendships. St. Francis says we must be on guard against deception in friendships, especially when they are between persons of different sexes. I know nobody here that's ever crossed their mind. Satan often tricks those who are in love. It may begin with virtuous love, but without prudence, fond love will first be injected, followed by sensual love, then carnal love. Meatloaf had a song about that, right? Love by the Dashboard Lights. Perfect explanation of that. Signs that a spiritual love, a good love, good friendship, sign that a spiritual love is deteriorating. There is a great profusion of honeyed words. Right? You start sweet-talking somebody out of the blue. Actually, there is a good political connection to this. Love is deteriorating. What's the one thing, I don't care what your politics are, if you're serving in the cabinet, president's cabinet, what's the last thing you want to hear? The president has absolute faith in that cabinet member. That's a sure sign that they're on their way out, right? Something's going to happen. As soon as you get unconditional love by that president, you're gone. And I mean it. It doesn't matter what your politics. That's what happens. There are improper looks, sensual caresses, deep sighs, little complaints about not being loved, etc. And again, this isn't an opposite sexes. The judgment is impaired so that those afflicted believe they are acting correctly. You don't see anything wrong with the way you're acting. What's the problem? Those afflicted fear the light and love darkness. If you're ever doing something with the opposite sex, now we're all, is everybody here married? I think so, huh? So if you're doing something with the opposite sex you don't want your wife to know about, there's a problem. There's a problem. They seek to hide their relationship, right? It leaves a bitter taste, leads to carnal demands, and if refused, leads to bitterness and hatred. Signs that a good friendship is not intended. When a person struts about, wheedles, and bargains with no intention of lawful marriage. Right? Some of that we would call trophy wives, right? Get rid of your wife, and you have somebody on your arm, and you're really just strutting about. When young people use postures and words they would not otherwise use with their parents, spouses, or confessors. Now, I have no idea what that would mean, but don't do it. Advice against evil friendships. As soon as you're aware of what is happening, turn right away. Guard well against making any compromises. So if you do have a friendship or you're trying to develop a friendship based on those virtues, those common virtues in communication, if you see it's going south, don't continue the friendship. If you have a friend that's leading you in all the wrong places, it's not a friend. I would say it's not even an acquaintance, it's somebody to be avoided. Remember that you have vowed your hearts to God, that since your love has been sacrificed to him, it would be a sacrilege to take its least part away from him. Sacrifice it again to God by repeated resolutions. Call on God. He will help you. He will help you and take you under his protection. A little prayer here and there wouldn't hurt. So, we pray to God. That's us talking to God, right? How does God talk to us? The Bible. How often have you done it, right? You have a decision to make or you're struggling with something, you just pop open the Bible, you stick your finger down, you read a passage, and how often do you go, oh, yeah, of course. So we talk to God through prayer, and he does talk back to us. Just remember how. Sometimes he talks back to us in the silence of our hearts. So you have to listen carefully, but make sure that's God talking back to you. But ask him for his help and his protection when you're trying to develop those friendships. If you are already caught in a web of fond love, acknowledge before God your misery and repudiate any promises made. Fond love, right? Determine to end the attachment. Avoid the object of such love. If possible, go far away. Or send her away. That could be another option. If impossible to avoid the person, break off all ties. Change of scene contributes greatly to allaying the heart and pain of both grief and love. So, if you were in a relationship, fond love, a clean break. That's what he's saying, clean break. A lot of this stuff doesn't really apply to us because we're a little beyond that, in that we're married. So it's a problem if we're even considering it. Do not enter into any compromises. If you have any evil inclinations because of imperfect repentance, read devout books with greater concentration. Go to confession and communion regularly. Speak humbly and sincerely to your director or to some prudent person. Do not doubt that God will deliver you from all your passion. This is really advice for young people who are falling in love. And, St. Francis is counseling that fond love or carnal love is not really love. And if you're going to fall into true love with somebody, friendship needs to be an important part of it, as he defines friendship. The imperfections of our friends. Do not let the imperfections of a friend enter your soul. Everyone has enough bad inclinations of his or her own without being burdened by another's. All right. So, again, if you have a friend and you share a lot of virtues and you consider them a true and good friend, they're still going to have faults. Don't let those imprudent inclinations enter into your soul. Help them through them. Help them see the error. Friendship obliges us to aid and assist one another to free ourselves from every kind of fault. We must not lead our friends into faults. Don't be that ringleader in the group that's getting everybody into trouble, or even one friend into trouble. Be the one that everybody ostracizes because you're a goody two-shoes. In the long run, it pays off. With regard to sins, we must neither occasion them nor tolerate them in our friends. If it's a true friend and they're doing something wrong, in love, you need to point it out to them and help them overcome that issue. You can't just turn a blind eye or ignore it. You can't engage in it with them, depending what it is, alcoholism, gambling, to excess. You have to help them through it. Genuine loving friendship cannot continue in the midst of sin. If you have a friend that's asking you to cover up a sin for them, That's not a good friend. If you can't help them through it and help them see the error of their ways, so to speak, that's not a true friend. You need to make a decision.
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata